All right, let's dive into one of the most complicated and most important geopolitical puzzles on the planet today, the question of Taiwan. It's a story that's absolutely tangled up in history, international law, and two very different realities. To really get it, you've got to go back to the beginning.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll look at the post-war legal mess that started this whole thing. Then, we'll jump to the present day to see how that old confusion is fueling a major political clash right now. After that, we'll look inside Taiwan itself to see what its people actually want. And finally, we'll tackle the biggest question of all. Who really gets to decide Taiwan's future? And we're kicking things off with a pretty explosive recent statement from the AIT, which is the de facto U.S. embassy in Taiwan. This quote completely challenges the story that a lot of people just take for granted, the idea that Taiwan's fate was all settled after World War II. Right away, this opens up the central mystery we're going to be digging into. Which, of course, leads us to this massive question. If the end of the war didn't decide Taiwan's status, then what did? I mean, what is the actual legal basis for where things stand today? Okay, Section 1, a post-war legal puzzle. To really get a handle on the present, we have to rewind the clock to the 1940s and 50s. The root of this whole debate isn't just about what was written in a few key documents. It's about what was very deliberately left unwritten. So you see these three key moments here, and the difference between them is absolutely crucial. You've got the first two, which were wartime statements about what the Allies planned to do. But only the last one, the San Francisco Peace Treaty, was the official, legally binding document that ended the war. And that distinction, as you'll see, changes everything. And this slide really nails it. Think of the Cairo and Potsdam declarations like wartime press releases. They were statements of goals, of intentions, but you can't hand over a territory with a press release, right? For that, you need a formal treaty, signed and sealed, that can legally transfer sovereignty. The only document that fits that bill is the San Francisco Peace Treaty. And here it is, the line that causes all the trouble. Japan officially gives up Taiwan. It renounces its claim forever. But notice what's missing. The treaty never ever says who Japan is giving Taiwan to. It just hangs there. It's a total legal vacuum. And that gaping hole, that ambiguity, is exactly where this idea of Taiwan's undetermined status theory comes from. The core argument is simple. Because international law never officially handed Taiwan to anyone, its ultimate status is still, technically, an open question. This isn't just a footnote, it's the legal foundation for the entire modern debate. So now for Section 2, One Island, Competing Realities. Let's fast forward and see how that historical legal mess just explodes in the 21st century. Because of that one missing line in a treaty, you now have two governments with two completely incompatible claims over the very same place. First up, you have the position from Taiwan's current government, laid out pretty clearly here by President Lai. The argument is that their sovereignty comes from the Republic of China's own constitution. The message is simple. The ROC is an existing sovereign state that governs Taiwan, and it is in no way a part of the People's Republic of China. And then you have the view from Beijing. And this isn't just a political talking point, this is written into their actual law. The PRC's anti-secession law is blunt. Taiwan is a part of China, full stop. And it even gives a legal basis for using non-peaceful means to stop it from breaking away. From this perspective, any claim to separate sovereignty is simply an illegal act of secession. So here's the clash in a nutshell. You have the ROC basing its legitimacy on its constitution and the territory it actually governs. Then you have the PRC basing its claim on its One China principle and viewing Taiwan as a breakaway province. There's just no middle ground. We're talking about two completely different legal universes making two claims that cannot both be true. But it's really easy to just think of this as a fight between two governments. The thing is, we also have to look inside Taiwan itself, because the 23 million people who live there have a whole range of views on what their future should be. It is not a monolith. And if you look at polling data over the years, you'll see that public opinion tends to fall into these four general camps. The exact percentages move around, but one thing is incredibly consistent. The biggest slice by far belongs to people who want to maintain the status quo. They don't want to rush towards unification, and they don't want to make a formal declaration of independence that could provoke a crisis. So let's quickly break these down. You have the unification camp, which is pretty small. The huge majorities in the middle, either wanting to preserve the status quo or, in the case of the moderate independence camp, believing Taiwan is already independent under its current name, the ROC.
Then, on the other end, you have the radical independence group that wants to ditch the whole ROC system and start fresh with a new Republic of Taiwan. All right, this brings us to our final section, and maybe the most fundamental part of this whole puzzle, the self-determination question. With a contested past and a divided present, what's the path forward? Well, for many, the conversation needs to shift away from old treaties and onto a much more modern principle. And that principle is self-determination. You'll find it right there in the UN Charter. It's a cornerstone of modern international law. The idea itself is pretty simple. The people who actually live in a place should have the right to freely choose their own future without outside interference. For a lot of folks, this basic human right trumps all the complicated history and legal arguments. And so we end up right back where we started, with a question. We can't give you the answer because, well, nobody has it yet, but hopefully the stakes are a lot clearer now. When history is murky, when present-day claims are in direct conflict, and when the people themselves have different ideas, who gets to make the final call? Who should decide Taiwan's future? That's not just a local question. It's one of the most critical geopolitical challenges of our time.